Learn about color pencil. Color pencil technique, if done correctly, will create phenomenal pieces. When at the end of this, we're going to look at the Color Pencil Society of America's website, and you're going to see artworks on there that are astounding. They look like photographs. They're so detailed and perfect on their value and their color application. The first thing you need to remember with color pencil is that it's done in layers and not dark layer after dark layer, but it's pretty much light layer, light layer, light layer. Who remembers those old transparencies that were all different colors, and if you place them in front of each other, the colors would change? So if you had the blue and the red one in front of each other, you would see purple. And okay, remember those? In some ways, that's kind of how the color pencil layers are. You're just layering them on top of each other, and then it creates other colors and values. All right. So the first thing we're going to be doing is looking at how you can apply color pencil to paper. Applying your color pencil to the paper. And there's several ways you can do this, okay? Applying the color pencil to paper. The first way that you can do this is what I call tip or broad shading. Okay, tip or broad shading. And the way you do tip or broad shading is obviously your tip shading is using the tip of your pencil. Notice, am I pressing down super hard? No, I'm not. It's very light. Do you see that? And I'm just using the tip of the pencil. And this is what a lot of you already do. Broad shading is when you use the biggest piece and the most exposed part of the side of your pencil. Do you see that? You hold your pencil like this, all right? At least that's how I do it. You can find a better way if you want to, or a different way that makes you more comfortable. And all you do is you apply it this way. Do you see the difference between the broad shading and the tip shading? Okay, there is a slight difference. They're the same technique almost, but with a slight variation of how the color will go down. Okay, so you have tip and broad shading. All of you try this now on your own. Another way you can apply color to your paper, the color pencil to paper, is through lines. Okay, 3 different types of lines. You have hatching lines, which we've talked about when we talked about value. We have cross hatching, again talked about when we talked about value. And then last is contour or directional. Okay, these are 3 different types of line types that you can use. Remember, when you're dealing with line application with value, the closer the lines are together, the darker the area, the further apart, the lighter, correct? Okay, so when we have hatching lines, remember they can be horizontal lines, they can be vertical lines, they can be diagonal lines. Notice the closer the lines are together, the darker, the further apart, the lighter. Okay, those are just basic hatching lines. Then you have cross hatching, or as I like to call it, tic-tac-toe. Again, the lighter areas are the ones that are further apart, the darker areas are the ones closer together. In your hatching line, your cross hatching lines, excuse me, it doesn't matter what direction they go as long as you have one set of lines crossing on top of another. So I can even cross another set of lines on top of the lines I already have. Okay? So you have hatching, cross hatching, and the last one, contour directional. All right? Contour lines are usually curved, and notice as I'm curving the lines, what do you start to see? Yeah, kind of spherical, right? And have I colored in and flattened it out? No. If you use directional or contour lines in the form you're trying to make, you're trying to take that shape into a form, what it will do is it really help to create that illusion of form in your 2D plane. Okay? Remember, you can't actually make a sphere pop out of your 2D plane unless you cut a ball in half and stick half of it on there, correct? And if you're trying to create that illusion, it really helps to use those contour lines. If we're using directional lines, I can go like this. So I got all these lines going across. I come back with these. Have I started creating a box without really even having a box there? Did I even outline for that box? No, I can just I just can use the lines to do that, okay? So I have myself like a cube form there, rectangular, prism, whatever you want to call, but I didn't really actually draw it out. I used my lines to create it. Now I could lightly draw it out and do the same thing. The direction will help your eye to create that illusion of form. Another way that you can apply color pencil to paper is through scumbling, or as I sometimes call it, crazy eights. When you scumble, you're just making eights. The closer and tighter the eights are together, the darker. The further apart, the lighter. Another application could be through little circles. Same concept. The tighter the circles are, the darker. The further apart, the lighter. I like these two techniques when I'm doing nature stuff because it helps create organicness within your bushes or other things like that. Another way that you can apply your color pencil to paper is through burnishing. Now, burnishing is a heavy application of the color pencil to paper. It uses up the tooth of the paper. The tooth of the paper describes the type of paper you have. Some paper has heavy tooth or rough tooth. That means there's a lot of ridges and stuff in it. It is very good for oil pastels, chalks, and other medium of that nature. Whereas smoother tooth is nice for pen and ink, marker, color pencil. Your paper, when seen under a microscope, has all these little ridges and valleys and stuff like that, craters, I guess you could say. And so when you're using up the tooth of the paper, those are all getting filled in, and there's nothing left for you to work with. It is a heavy application, but you're not going to start off heavy. With color pencil, as always, you're going to start off with a layer, and then you just keep going back and forth, adding another layer on top of that. You keep going until you get a nice slick kind of photo finish quality when it's done. You won't see any more white spaces on your paper at all. As you can see, I'm not changing the degree of pressure at all. All I'm doing is adding layer upon layer of what I already have. With burnishing, it's really, really important that if you're trying to create the illusion of form, that you use directional or contour coloring, I guess you could say, application. Because if you don't, you could possibly flatten out your forms into shapes, and that's not what you want if you're trying to create that illusion of three-dimensionality. The other way that you can create, not create, I apologize, apply is through stippling. Stippling means it's one color series of dots, okay? If you start adding any other color in besides that one color, it changes the term, and we'll be talking about that later. Stippling is just a series of little tiny dots. Don't take your pencil and go like this where you jab it up and down. Not that you really can tell what I was doing there. You need to just do little tiny dots. The reason why you don't want to jab it up and down, ladies and gentlemen, is your core, that's the colored part, is encased in the wood, the pencil, okay, the wood casing. This core has wax in it. Wax makes it soft. That's why you can blend the colors together. That's why they can smear, is because of that wax, okay? But because it's wax, it makes it fragile. And as you sharpen, what's going to happen is you'll have little pieces that will break off continuously, which frustrates you. Or as you're coloring, it'll break very easy, which will frustrate you. So please do not take your color pencil and jab it up and down like it is kind of a drill thing on the cement in the middle of summer. I don't know what that thing is called, but it goes and it's really loud and drives me crazy. All right. So we have talked about different ways that you can apply your color pencil to paper. That is tip shading, broad shading, lines, which include hatching, cross hatching, directional contour, scumbling or crazy eights and circles, burnishing, which is a heavy application, and then last, stippling.